everybody.
Hello, everybody. Happy Wednesday, and welcome to the Broward Center Broadway Chat Series. We are so excited to have you with us tonight. My name is Tim Maines, and I'm joined by the incredible
Tammy Holder. Hi, everybody. Welcome to Wednesday.
Awesome. So last week we had an incredible guest. We had a really great time with Jelani Remy, who joined us from the Broadway cast of Ain't Too Proud and The Lion King. We had a really fun chat with him. If you missed it live, make sure to check out that episode that we have saved on our Facebook page. And Tammy, we have another incredible guest this week. Who is joining us today?
I am so excited to have this gentleman with us tonight. He is fabulous. He is currently starring in the national tour of Come From Away. Please give some big love to the fabulous Jeremy Woodard. Hi, Jeremy.
Coolest entrance I've ever had, that's for sure.
How's it going?
It's going good. How are you?
Thank you so much for hanging out to chat with us tonight.
Of course, of course.
All right. So just want to remind anybody, if you have a comment or a question, please leave it. And hopefully we can get around to answering all your questions. So Jeremy, tell me what's going on. Come From Away. How's that project going?
Well, it was going great. It was a great week of rehearsal, and then it stopped.
Uh-oh. How close were you to opening it? Because you were just joining the tour and you were in rehearsals, right?
Yeah. So I got about a week into rehearsals. So I guess I was maybe 2 weeks away from starting performances. And then all this stuff kind of broke out. For a second, I was going to fly down and rehearse with them really quickly. And then they canceled that city as well. And then obviously, henceforth, we're just kind of on pause right now.
That's it. We were so disappointed. You were supposed to come to the Broward Center. I know. One day.
Florida.
I know. Well, tell me a little bit about this show, who you play in this show, and what you're looking forward to most about being in part of this cast.
Well, I mean, the thing I'm looking forward to the most is I can be very selective about I love doing shows, but there's very few that I really am dying to do, and this one was number one. So whenever someone was like, and I didn't know anything about it when I went and saw it for the first time, which I can't. I mean, I've seen it like 6 times now, but I had no idea, and it's one of those experiences I had when I left. I was just blown away, and that doesn't happen to me too often. So it's kind of like a dream job. So I'm most excited about that. But I'm playing Kevin T. So there are 2 Kevins in the show. They are a couple together. It's Kevin T. and Kevin J, if I'm not mistaken. And it takes place in a town called Gander, way up north of the border, like in our Canadian fellas. Newfoundland? Is that Newfoundland? I gotta say it right.
Mm-hmm. Newfoundland, right?
Newfoundland, yeah. It's not Newfoundland, it's Newfoundland. And it's about what happened to folks up there outside of on 9/11 that you didn't get to see here, and how this town took care of I can't remember their population, but I do know that the population suddenly doubled within a day, and how they housed and took care and did all this kind of stuff for all these folks, and it's pretty amazing. It's pretty amazing.
Right, sort of a relevant topic now, taking care of each other, right?
Oddly enough, right? And I haven't talked to him much, but the real Kevin T had reached out, and he said him and I agree that once this is all over, I think this show is going to have a new kind of effect. Very similar, but they're going to need this show even more than they did before. So
definitely. Well, good. Well, we look forward to seeing you in this role. This is amazing. So before this, kind of a different role, you were Earl in Waitress. Tell me what that was like.
Yeah. Well, I mean, now, the beard for that was a little thicker. I mean, it's just, I stopped shaving. This is a quarantine shave. It's the first time, and I've always enjoyed playing bad guys. I just feel like they get more cool, fun stuff to do. This was not fun because there wasn't one redeeming quality about this guy whatsoever. So it's the first time I've ever left the theater and been like, oh, that's a pretty good show. When you open the door and they're still booing you, people didn't talk to you. Yeah, so much so that it got to the point where there were a couple times, and not in a mean way, but I had to come and be like, there were certain individuals. I'm like, guys, it's just the show's over. It should come here, give me a hug. Yeah. I don't mind being booed at curtain call. I think that's funny, but when it continues, I was like, good gracious.
Right.
But it's good. I guess, you got to take it. I guess that means you did a decent job. So, yeah.
That's it. No, I saw you. You were a convincing bad guy. And I was like, wow, you took me in. So that was good.
My mom didn't see that one, thank God.
Oh, okay, good. And so before that, you were out on the road with one of my favorite shows, Wicked. And you were playing Fiyero. Tell me about that. What was it like stepping into such an iconic role?
I try to immediately go to when jobs that I've had, I try to figure out what lessons that I learned from that. And with Wicked was a show that I loved to watch. It was never a show that I was like, I got to do that. Because I just never thought I would be considered a princey type guy. I kind of lean more towards like the Earls and funny. I was talking to a colleague and I was like, Fiyero is very they like wispy for that, and I misspelled wispy and it changed the spelling to whiskey. Yeah. And I went, no, I meant wispy, and they wrote back, no, you are whiskey, and that's the difference. And I was like, okay,
I love it.
So to be honest, I'm always obviously excited to have a job, but I was a bit nervous because I was like, I don't know if I'm going to enjoy this, and it was uber amounts more fun than I expected it to be.
Good.
And the secret of it is also you're actually not out there that much, but when you're not out there, they're still talking about you, so it just seems like you're way more important than you are. Nice. I was like, I like this. But no, it was I thoroughly enjoyed that show, and if anything, I at the time wasn't really keen of going back on tour, and this is the lesson I took away from it because it's an older show. So at first I thought, well, it's not new, it's 10 years old. It's not really going to do anything for me to be in some random small city And my agent goes, yeah, but the difference is it shows that someone trusted you with their multi-million-dollar musical. And I just stopped. I've never heard that before because I never think of that. I was like, okay.
Yeah.
Right, that's it. And that's kind of what that was about for me. Showed that people give you those opportunities because they trust you. It has nothing to do with where you are and how you feel. It's, however old it is. So that was valuable.
Very cool. I love it.
Yeah.
So now let's talk a little bit. You are a member of the original cast for a few Broadway shows.
Sure.
Right? Sure. So tell me a little bit about that. So before you went out with Wicked, you were doing a little skit, School of Rock, right?
Rock, yes.
And tell me about that. Now, you were the nice guy in School of Rock in the opening, right? The nice rock star?
Well, he's kind of nice, but he still kicks him out of the band.
He does. So you played, tell me who you played in School of Rock.
So I'm the guy, if you've seen the movie, in the beginning of that film, Jack Black comes to rehearsal and the band kind of kicks him out, and the lead singer of that band, which in the movie is Adam Pascal, which come on, I want to meet Adam Pascal. I'm really mad. He was doing a show here while I was doing that and he never came. And I was like, dang it. Yeah. But oddly enough, they had me wear this long blonde wig. So it was kind of like a joke on that stuff. I looked like I had left Rock of Ages and walked right into that theater and just did that really quick.
Right.
But yeah, I didn't have much to do. I kicked him out of the band with that. But the cool thing was I've never opened a show. I've never been the first thing you were getting. That kind of made me a little nervous. I was like, oh my God, I'm the first voice that they're going to hear. If it doesn't sound good, this is going to set the tone, and they're going to be like, what are we doing here? But it was great. And the thing about School of Rock, you talk about lessons learned. We really didn't have to. It wasn't a hard job for the adults, but those kids. They were unbelievable. And I was like, how do you guys, I never thought I'd be the adult that's like, how are you kids so good at this? And they were just like, they couldn't understand why you couldn't do it. They could play the guitar and they'd be like, here. And I'm like, I can't do that.
Uh-huh.
You're like, why not? And I'm like, because all I had was Judy down the street to teach me when I was your age. They all said, a lot of them learned from YouTube. They're like, YouTube taught me everything I know. So you just see how far out they can learn from the best people on the planet. Yeah,
that's amazing.
Unbelievable.
Well, speaking about some amazing people on the planet, weirdly enough, Andrew Lloyd Webber wrote School of Rock, which I thought was so bizarre. So during the rehearsal process, did you ever get to work with him directly?
Okay, so here's another kind of cool moment for me that may never happen again. So we were doing the workshop. the opening song that you heard, I'm Too Hot for You. That's what it's called.
Uh-huh.
It didn't exist. And then one day, no one told me. And then one day, I got asked to come to rehearsal, I think first that morning. And of course, like, oh, I got to be first. And I get there, and Andrew Lloyd Webber's there. He's like, yes, come to the piano. I wrote you a song. And I was like, what's going on? And they told me what their idea was to like start the show, and how, you know, they want the rock band. They want it to start as a rock concert. And he, like, it was the first time he was like, all right, so I got to pick the key. He was like,
no!
I was like, no, keep it right here. Keep it like in the G area. Like, I don't need to like panic about this every night. And and I sat at the bench with him as he like wrote this song and like played it for me. And I was like, what is my life right now?
That's amazing. I love that story.
Yeah, that was
So
cool.
I think a lot of people that are watching might not understand kind of the process of developing a new Broadway musical. So you're talking a little bit about kind of being in the room as these songs are written and added. I'm wondering if you could talk a little bit more about that process of creating as a group, as a show develops towards Broadway. What are the steps that a show goes through?
Sure, and I think if I'm remembering correctly, that's the first or maybe second time that I started. So you get that experience like when it's a workshop. So again, I think someone told me, or I've read, it takes about 7 years for a show to make its way to open. I think Hamilton took that long. So 7 years is kind of the average. And they all start with readings and workshops. So first there's like a reading in like a room, and we sit in a circle, and you know, usually you don't audition for that. Usually they pick people that are like friends or people they know and trust, and you come in for a couple of days, hear some of the music, read it out loud. Then it goes to like a workshop. So they'll do it in like a small room, but not like tiny. Like we'll put it on its feet and do mild blocking and mild, you know, movement, maybe a little mild choreography. And they test it out, see what works and what doesn't. What happened with School of Rock, we were supposed to do a workshop, and we went down to the Gramercy Theater, and they decided that they didn't want to call it a workshop anymore. So it became, I don't know necessarily it was called an off-Broadway, but the contract switched because they wanted to invite people to come see it. Mm-hmm. And we got to do it on like a real rock stage. So that was kind of cool. And they figure out what works and what doesn't work. And then usually, most of the time, the shows will go out of town, go get the kinks out so they don't get like punched too bad in the face here when they open up, and then they'll come back here. School of Rock did not do that. We came straight here, and that's the only time I've ever had that experience. Diner, I didn't do the first workshop, but I did the second one and was with them. They intended to go out of town, and then I think the hurricane came and everything. All the plans changed for that one. So that's usually kind of how it goes. And it's good to get in from the beginning. To be attached to it for a long time, but you know, some people come and go, and new people they cast new people as the process goes along. But it's a lot of work. It's a lot of work.
Well, and with the, you know, like you walked in and you had to learn a song right there, boom,
Yeah.
And that's part of your track. So that's very cool. So talk about the show before. Now, what came next? Was it Diner or was it Last Ship? What was right before School of Rock?
After School of Rock? Oh, no. Last Ship was before School of Rock, right before School of Rock. And then I think Diner happened as Rock of Ages was closing.
Got it. Well, tell us about your Last Ship. Now, I don't know if anybody's ever heard of this guy. Who wrote the music for Last Ship?
Sting.
Sting. So, what was it like working with Sting?
I will say that audition was probably by far the most terrified I had been, and it encompassed the whole thing. I think I was in San Diego doing Last Goodbye. I'm like the king of the 3-word musicals. Like I'm like the Steven Seagal movies that were like, if you go back, all his movies are 3 words. That's me. It's like Last Goodbye. It was crazy.
I love it.
But there was an audition for Last Ship. I remember I sent in a tape, and then I remember the agent called, and he was like, so they want you to come in. You got to fly to New York. And I was like, here's where I started to feel really cool. I was like, man, look, I can't afford, like I got a show and I can't afford to fly. And he was like, they're gonna pay for it. And I was like, what? He was like, yeah. So I had to finish the show in San Diego, get on a red eye, fly to New York, get here, like change, get all ready to go in. I had no idea who was going to be there. It was Joe Mantello and Sting. And I was just like my heart was just like busting out of my chest. When it was, I thought it went fine. I mean, I never can really tell how those things go, and and I'm packing up my bag, and Sting comes walking out of the room, and he's like, got his arms crossed, and he's walking down the hallway, and he's kind of looking at all the pictures, and he looks at me, and he's like, and just keeps. I was like, what does that mean? What's that mean? So stayed. I mean, and it worked out. He is probably the coolest like rock star I've ever met in my entire life. It's the first time I've been around someone that is that rock star type that I'm like, oh, I get it. I get it. But he's also so sweet. He's just the kindest, and he wants to be as normal as he can be. And I'm sorry, Sting, you're not going to have a normal life. So it's just.
Well, tell us a little more about that show. I think it didn't run long enough. Tell us a little bit about your role in Black Ship.
No, it's too bad that it didn't run long enough, because I talked to a lot of people who, I think it was, how long did we run? Maybe just a couple months, maybe 2 or 3 months. Everyone that saw it said they loved it. Like, I have so many people that's like, that's one of my favorite shows. And I was like, it was, and even Joe Mantello, whenever him and I would talk, he said it's one of his favorite artistic pieces he's ever directed in his life. I don't know the secret to what the public's. I think Jimmy Buffett said that one time. He's like, you never know what the public's going to buy, and it wasn't a big showy. It was a very dark, moody kind of show, which I love. And it took place in Sting's hometown. It was about these shipbuilders and that business was going under, and that business supported the town, and so therefore the town, and everybody's panicking. And I mean, it's based off his real life. And I understudied Michael Esper, who, great actor. I was more than happy to be Michael's backup. And I think Gideon is based off of Sting a bit. He was a kid. He wanted to leave. He leaves on a ship sometime, and he comes back, and then there's the girl there that he loved way back in the day, but she's got another guy, so we got the love story, and kind of what happens with that, and him, he's got issues with his dad. His dad was kind of abusive, and working that out, and it was a beautiful piece of theater. It was really really cool. It's the first time I worked also with Stephen Hyatt. And his process. At first you're kind of like, what? And then you're like, you're a genius. Oh my God. Because, he makes you do the move. He makes you kind of come up with the movement. And, those of us that aren't dancers were kind of like, we don't know how to choreograph. And then how he pieced it together, it blew my mind. He's one of my favorite people of all time.
That's amazing. Yeah. And so then before that, tell us about a little skit called Rock of Ages. You were with that one for a while. Tell us about that process.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to leave a job that fun. And somebody said that. They were like, you were with that job for so long. How could you do that? And I was like, well, several reasons. One, I started as the ensemble track, and then halfway through that run, I got to be Stacee Jaxx. So that change of pace helps, obviously. But two, it was it's the most fun I've ever had, next to Hairspray. Rock of Ages, that music, I grew up on that music. That's, my sisters, that's all they played. That's all I ever wanted to be. It's the closest I'll ever be to being an actual rock star in my entire life. And also with that, the people that ran that show, they were, I say this a lot to friends, they were so good about, and this is rare, but they were so good about letting you go and do other gigs and do other jobs and come back. And because of that, most people stayed the whole time, because they could go for 6 weeks and direct, or they could go for 6 weeks and act in another show, and the people running our show would let you do that and come back, it's a rare thing. So it just created a good, I mean, these shows are like summer camp. You got your own drama when you're around too many people, but it was a good vibe all around, I think, because of that, and it was just fun to do.
It was fun, and you did get to be a rock star.
I tried.
You were awesome. So what was it like starting, because you started with this, it started off Broadway for a while.
Yes.
And then it transferred. So what was that like, making the move from an off-Broadway theater to a Broadway house?
Well, honestly, I think a lot of us were a little concerned because we kind of liked our little show around the corner. And we weren't selling out. I mean, it was fun, but it wasn't full. And I think that theater was only 400 seats. So we didn't run there that long. And when they came and they were like, so, surprise, we're going to move to Broadway. I think as excited as we were, I think a lot of us were like, we are? Is that a good idea? And I mean, it really wasn't until I remember opening night, walking up to the dressing room probably around a little after intermission, and one of the guys in the dressing room had read that the New York Times had said it was a hit. It wasn't until then, because we didn't know, like we had an invited dress, like, where they invite friends and people in the community, and it didn't go that well for like, our peers. So we were a little concerned. It wasn't until that moment where I kind of like released, because I hadn't had good luck up until then, and we were worried. And it was that night that I was like, okay, we're gonna be okay. And it obviously was kind of the little show that could, and it's still just doing its thing.
It's still now. Did it reopen? Is it reopened again on off Broadway? Right?
It did. It reopened off Broadway, and they have a production in LA that they're doing. They built a space there for it. Like they built like a bar, and like it's really cool. Yeah. So it was. I got to go see it while it's here, and it was you're just smiling the whole time. I think that's why that show works. You don't stop laughing, and you don't stop believing.
Nice. That was my. Go ahead, Tim.
You said that, you were kind of like, you felt like a rock star during that show. Was the audience experience in that show different from other shows that you've been in, and how so?
Oh, yes. I mean, even to the point where, the adult beverages probably kind of helped, and people would cut loose and scream. And that was, because it didn't feel like a show. It felt like a concert. It felt like we were at a concert. People would sing along, and, most of the time that was awesome. There were a few times where, like, some of the actors would be like, can you stop talking?
My show.
I think Mitch one time, I think someone yelled out to him. He was on stage doing a scene, and they were like, less talking, more singing.
No.
He just kind of looked at him. He's like, what are you doing? But that's also what was good about that show. He could, he was so good at like making sure, just running it. But he could bust out and do that. There were times where he could interact, and if someone was being obnoxious, there were just ways. It was endless ways to play with that show, and that it felt like it rarely felt like work. I mean, it felt like work because you were tired, but it was just fun all the time. You never knew what was going to happen.
That's so fun. And I loved when you were in Rock of Ages and you were Stacee Jaxx, and I was walking down 8th Avenue and a bus came by and you were on the bus. What was that like, seeing yourself plastered all over the buses in New York City?
Oh, I mean, again, I'm telling you, it's surreal, and you see it. And I got several text messages from friends that like took selfies in front of it. So again, you feel like a rock star for about a minute, but it eventually goes away. From on a bus till just like trying to get another job.
Well, speaking about trying to get another job, let's talk about Glory Days. Tell me about that show. Oh, tell me about Glory Days. How long did Glory Days run? That was your first show.
It was the first show, and it ran for one night.
Tell us about that.
Well, what's funny about that is I have always said, and maybe I said this to you back when I was younger, when we first worked together, I told you, I was like, if I could ever just do it for one night, that would be awesome. And that's exactly what happened for my first time. And I was like, it was just, it's a business, and that's where I learned that it really is a business. I was like, this show's probably got like a nice little limited like 3-month run in it. It's, it'll be fun. I would never have bet that it would have closed the night after it opened. And, the reviews weren't great. I think investors, or I think money is always a situation. But we did. We opened. We had a party. We went to bed, and then that morning got a call that we needed to come to the theater and get our stuff.
Oh, that's wild.
It was a weird time, because then that happened, but it was also a good time because that happened, and then I booked 3 shows so quickly. That's never happened again. And that Glory Days closed. Crybaby closed the day before I started rehearsals. That was number 2.
Oh, no.
And then Rock of Ages, which was this little, I was like, this is not, I thought I was box office poison for a while. I was like, those shows aren't going to hire me anymore because they closed when I'm in there.
Oh, no.
And then, of course, Rock of Ages took off and canceled that stigma, thank God. So that, it's, you never know.
I love it. Well, so tell us a little bit about how you got to the Broadway, where you're from originally, and sort of what was your path to go from where you're from originally?
Garner, North Carolina, a little town right outside of Raleigh. And for me, it all started with going to actually right before I got to high school. It was 8th grade, I remember, and my sisters were in chorus with Mr. Gillum, who he may be watching. Who knows what he's doing?
He's out here.
And I noticed that they got to go to New York all the time, like every other year. I was like, wait, they get to go to New York? So it started for me. I remember I left basketball practice because I thought at the time I was going to be an athlete. That was my dream, was to be an athlete. That dream was never going to come true. I mean, but that's what I thought. And went to basketball practice. Left basketball practice, went and auditioned for Mr. Gillum, and he somehow said okay. And then I was like, yes, I get to go to New York. So it started as trying to take an easy elective, and it's just funny how that works out because then, I met you, and it just changed. It changed the course of my life. And coming up here with them to New York for the first time again was one of those things like I think we saw Rent that trip.
Oh,
yes.
Wow.
Yes, because I think that year, drama and course, the year that I went, they both went. And I think, I don't know, I think it ended up, how did that happen? I don't know. Anyway, we definitely saw Rent, and I was like, that's what I want to do. Like, that's it. I kind of knew that. I enjoyed singing. I never thought that me singing by myself would be anything that anyone would want to hear, let alone myself, because I don't want to hear it. But it just kind of took off from there. And then I went to college, and I remember I had to audition for that professional program, and I said, okay, if I get in this, I'll continue it. And if I don't, I'll seek other means. And I tell people that all the time. I feel like I've just been kind of riding a wave that has gone extremely too long. I'm very, very lucky.
I think actually Mr. Gillum is here.
Hey.
Mr. Gillum?
Oh my God! What
Yeah.
did you
So
do?
he's asking, what do you see yourself doing 25 years from now?
25 years from now? Kill him! I'm trying to just get through this week. I don't know. I look. Proud. Thanks, man.
Actually, yeah, he's saying, what did you see yourself doing it in the future? Could you have imagined it when you were younger?
I imagined a little bit. I did not imagine the amount of opportunities I've had. It seems like it's like getting a cake and people just keep pouring delicious icing on top of it. Like again, like I was just talking about Glory Days. If that had been the only time, it would have sucked, but it would have been like, okay, like I would have not as fulfilled as I am now, because how could I have known, but I would have been kind of okay with that. And so all these things that have happened after that just seem like it often seems like a dream. Because I mean, to me, I always tell people I relate things to sports a lot. Like booking a Broadway show to me is like winning the Super Bowl, not getting to the Super Bowl, but winning it. I think getting to the Super Bowl is living in this city. Winning it is like getting that show. So I always felt that the most luckiest man on the planet, if that's how you say luckiest, I'm the luckiest. Yeah, and it continues even to this day. I'm shocked. I mean, you go in and you give good auditions, and it doesn't guarantee you anything. So like, with Come From Away, like I knew that I had done a decent job, and I knew that like there were a few of us that they liked, but it's not about talent, because any guy that's in there, like if there's three of us, and usually it is the three friends, and we're all, every time we go to auditions, we're like, oh, it's you again. Somebody's going to get it, and it's not a mark on your talent. So you just never know what's going to happen that day, or if they feel you're right, or if things line up for you. And they have on occasion, but also they have not way more than they have. So let's not forget that. Like of the 1,000 jobs that I've gone in for, I've only, a handful of the ones that you've gotten. The rest are just like, so very lucky. You got to be thankful when it hits, for sure.
That's it.
You have another visitor watching here.
Hey!
The real kid? Oh, yay! That's awesome.
Yes.
Wow, that's super cool. All right. Well, so before we let you go, as you know, I work with students, and you say it's luck. I say talent and hard work, because I saw it when you were a kid and have continued to be amazed and just impressed with you as your career has just exploded. So, I'm your number one fan. What is your advice to, like, I got to talk to 15-year-old Jeremy. What's your advice to 15-year-old Broadway wannabes out there? What would you tell them?
Oh man, you're gonna like this, because this is something you told me. It encompasses a lot of things, and you're right. I think it is talent, it is luck. I mean, but everybody's got talent, and so whatever that talent ends up being for you, you could come here and venture off to be a stage manager. You could come here and venture off to be a producer. Who knows? But my thing is, if you don't at least come and you don't at least try, it's not going to happen. Someone once told me, they're not going to come looking for you. You got to go where it is, and you got to be a good person. You told me this. You got to play well in the sandbox.
Yes.
Because that matters. I mean, that matters. You know, people want to, this is it's a small, big city, but a small business, and they want to work with people that they like working with. I mean, when your kids grow up and they get here, if I'm still here, as old as I'll be at that time, if I get a job, it's not because I'm more talented. It's because I've built equity with people that trust me. And so I think coming here, they have to build that equity, and that's what it is. It's not, if you don't book jobs right away, it's not because you're not good. I think they want to see you improve. They want to see you hard work. They want your auditions to grow, and when a callback is a chance for you to step up. And like it's all a test. It's all they're like watching you grow. It never stops.
That's amazing. Well, This has been a fast 30 minutes. It's already time to go. Thank you so much.
Of course.
So thank you so much for spending time with us this afternoon and being part of our Broadway Chat series. It was great to see you and chat with you for a little bit.
Thank you. It was so good to see you. You guys are great.
All right. So everybody give Jeremy some big love. We got to tell him goodbye. All right. That was awesome. He's so great.
That was so much fun.
The real Kevin T was with us tonight. That's really
I know.
Cool. So, all right. Who we got next week, Tim?
We, next week, are going to be joined by Leanna Hunt from the Broadway cast of Mamma Mia and Newsies and a lot of really great shows out on the road as well. So tune in next week to say hello and chat with Leanna Hunt. So that's all we have for this week. Thank you all so much for watching. Thank you for your comments, for your questions. Thank you for your support of the Broward Center. And a very special thank you to Bank of America for their support of Broadway at the Broward Center all season long.
Great.
And thank you, Tammy.
Hey, thanks, Tim. Thanks again, Jeremy. Big round of applause for the fabulous Jeremy Woodard. All right, everybody. Have a good week. We'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye.